From Peoria, Illinois.
We have a lot of stressors around us and still feel empowered.
To Houston, Texas.
I have curves.
Her lingerie collection, designed for all body types.
I'm powerful. I'm within my own body.
Making her own way around the world.
I just did New York Fashion Week.
The owner and founder of Delisa Rose.
It's really showing a lot of the intimacy within myself.
This is An Intimate Night with Delisa Rose, a podcast for every woman.
Finally, there's something for us, right?
So before lingerie and before becoming an engineer and moving to Houston, you wanted to be an actress and spend some time in Hollywood.
Since I can remember, since young, that was my first, love for the entertainment business. I tried everything else. I grew up a natural good dancer, right?
You were in a dance troupe.
I was out of Chicago. I would go back and forth from Peoria we would do shows. But before the dance troupe, I was performing with a group called Just the Three of Us out of Peoria.
You're how old at this time?
I first started performing when I was 9. I was on a stage when I was 9. And we have somewhere in the world footage of it. I have pictures, things like that. But 9, and we would always win first place overall. Something. So I knew from early as 10 that I had a gift from dancing. As I got older, that's how I joined the dance troupe. And then, obviously a cheerleader in high school, dance team. So dancing was a way for me to kind of say I can get into the entertainment business, but then become an actress. So,
how'd the family feel about that?
Laughed, like, really? It's really, Bill, it's not something that my family doesn't think could happen for someone. All these gifts, I'm just like, there's gotta be something. There gotta be something that I could show that this was meant for me. I don't think that God would give me all these gifts and just be sitting on them. So the family just we all grew up thinking that our dreams couldn't, I would say, maybe it just wasn't shown in our family in a way that someone can make it to Hollywood out of the family. But I still believe I can do it, so.
Was entertaining almost a survival technique?
Mm-hmm. It was. It's crazy you asked that because it really was. It was so dark when I was growing up in terms of the environment, whereas dancing gave me an outlet. Like everything else, I feel like I throw myself into my passions as a way to cope, as a way to keep going and believe that I can turn this around.
Were drugs being sold when you were a 9-year-old or 10-year-old, 11-year-old in your neighborhood?
No, I didn't see any of that, but you know what comes.
Well, you said dark times, and I wondered if you were ever in a situation where you had to be entertaining in order to get out of...
No, when I say dark times, I mean like just growing up in the projects, just financially, and...
But this was a bright spot then. This was a part of your life that would elevate
it was a part of my life that would give me an escape from going back to this life as performing.
That troupe, the three, go up to Chicago, you said, occasionally and competed in things?
So just the three of us was in Peoria. Okay. The troupe was when I got older. I was like, I think 23, 24. It was like 10 of us. So dance troupes is like a large group of people dancing, and we dance around the city. Some of them, go on to open up acts for celebrities and things like that, like behind the scene dancers. Like you think about the dancers who are dancing behind these celebrities, those are dance troupes. Those are people who, dance. So like kind of like that. But the root,
all styles.
Yeah, all styles of age. But I continue that on until I got at least mid-adult and started to really, really focus on the engineering career. Once I became an engineer, it was more like grown-up life things. I had like I told you, I bought my first house when I was 25, and I had an apartment early in life. I think I was 18. So you don't really have time to be.
The first house is back in Texas, though, right?
No,
you haven't
Peoria.
moved to Texas. It's in Peoria. The house. Okay, which you don't own to this day.
No, I sold it to move to Texas.
Right.
So I own a home now in Texas. So, but being that young and again, the only person who had owned a home at that time was my grandmother.
So how long were you in California?
About 2 years or short of 2 years.
And you had an uncle out there.
I did. Yeah. He's passed.
But it's
on.
before becoming an engineer or it's after becoming an engineer?
It's before. So I'm 17, 18 at this time.
Okay.
Because I went there to act. This was the sole purpose of going to California. It was nothing to do, but Uncle was not having it. He would not take me to these auditions. Now, he lived in Monterey, California. So that's on a peninsula.
Yeah, lovely.
And I would go from Monterey to Carmel to model. Okay, I did a little modeling too, nothing big, just little
Did you have an agent?
No, but it was nice to kind of get connected to photographers in I would say upper class area. Carmel's very
Gorgeous. Clint Eastwood used to be the mayor. And
yes, and I worked at a Champs store. That's for people who don't know.
Sporting goods.
Sporting goods, like a Foot Locker. And I had a lot of great friends that I had met, and I met a young lady. Her name was Leah. Tall, gorgeous. She was like striking. She could be a model. And her, for people who don't know, this is kind of this is kind of a fun fact.
Okay.
And I have never met Clint Eastwood, by the way, but Leah was the daughter of her mom was best friends with Dina's, I believe. That's Clint Eastwood's
right,
wife.
the woman he was married to at the time.
Or they were friends or something like that. And she would go back and ask if she can get advice for me to break into the acting world. And he told her, or told the mom, I don't know how it got communicated, that I needed to join the Actors Guild union.
Right, Screen
at that
Actors
time.
Guild, SAG-AFTRA.
Yes,
now.
and I didn't know what that was, but imagine someone 18 rushing to tell their uncle that.
Clint Eastwood told me I should be in show business.
Or Leah sent her, Clint Eastwood, yeah. And this is how you do it. This is what I want to do. You need to take me to LA. We need to move there. It's like a childish mind, right? I'm a kid still, but he's probably looking at me like, I'm not gonna move there. I'm not gonna move so you can go do your acting. So I didn't get far. You need to go and focus on school and figure out what you're gonna do. And I ended up having to move back to Peoria. So that's really how the acting thing kind of fizzled out,
You're dancing in LA at all? Or
no, I did not dance in California.
Did you go out for auditions? Did you go to group
The only thing I do
go-sees or whatever they call them?
Nope, I just did modeling. That's the only thing I did in California. In Illinois, I did the dancing. So when I got back to Illinois is where the dance troupe was formed in Chicago. So I never stopped. At some point, I at least try to satisfy family and my own desires. But life circumstances, you want to make sure that, you do have some way of funding your own life. Because remember, I'm an adult now. Right. I'm on my own. I'm in an apartment. Who's going to be paying?
About to buy a house.
Yeah,
Soon.
You're talking, who's going to be paying?
Right. And you have not met the man that would be your husband yet.
No, I met him when I moved to Houston. So that's how that happened. But I gave up on it, Bill. Okay, and this is why when you asked me in the previous episode what advice I would give for people who's doing their dream, go, do it. Because I didn't. I stopped. I gave up on it, but I still became someone. I still became someone that could, contribute to this planet. But my acting desire has never left me.
Even after 2 years of not getting
2 decades.
Yeah.
Not 2 years. 3
I've
decades.
said this to you before. I think that this is a character. I think you're in show business. I think you put on shows and you have a character in Delisa Rose who is basically you, but that's not enough. It feels like you want.
Honestly, I would love it if Denzel Washington can be my mentor.
Denzel, if you're listening, we have, or if Clint, you could tell somebody that could tell her what to do. I'm sure some of the advice would be very similar. Somehow get into the Screen Actors Guild.
We gotta go
and
further
for
than
people
that.
listening who don't know, that isn't just going to an office and
No.
telling them you want to be an actor, you have to get a job. It's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah.
You have to get a job with a production, a play or a movie or a television show that is part of the union. And you
Exactly.
get 2 chances before you have to join. And you can be in 2 things.
And it wasn't explained to me that way. That's what Leah came back to say. Well, you have to join the actors, the union, and this is how it goes. So it made it seem like all I needed to do was join and I could become an actress. Right. So I'm begging my uncle, like, we need to join this union now. So, and he's looking at me like, is you crazy? But that's something that you don't, as a child, you don't really understand the process of becoming an actress. You just know that's what you want to do. It is very much a process of becoming famous. It's a process.
Right. Right.
And I need to be on that process.
Well, look, you have a podcast. You put on fashion shows here in New York and in Houston and around the world. You have a website and you have a persona that your fans like.
Yeah.
If we were casting the movie of the Delisa Rose story, who would play you?
Who would play me?
Yeah.
Who can play me better than me?
You're in it.
I'm in my own movie. I'm the star of it. I'm the star of the brand.
That's exactly how Stallone started. He had this script for Rocky and he kept going around and everybody in Hollywood said, no, we'll get so-and-so to play it or so-and-so to play it. And he said, no, it's me. And he became Sylvester
Really?
Stallone.
I did not know that.
So maybe out of this podcast,
Yeah.
we'll write your story, starting in Peoria, Illinois, where we should point out the great Richard Pryor also
Absolutely.
started.
I was just going there. The great Richard Pryor is from there. Yes, he is.
Did you ever see him perform there?
No, I'm
Yeah, you were
baby.
different. Yes.
And probably not alive when he was doing his thing.
And I think he started in strip clubs there, and we will hope that wasn't something you started into.
But I hear the stories. Yes, his mom and him as a little boy was there, and that's kind of how he came up in that.
Well, I'm just trying to get him into your movie somehow. So
no, he's not here.
You both came from Peoria.
We did, and he's still an icon to this day in the area. So it's an honor to say that I'm from the same city from Richard Pryor, because he pushed the limits in his show business and what he did at a time where stand-up comedy wasn't really the way it is today. He started that. You see that in a lot of comics today. He started that, and that's where it comes from. So it was
Spoke his mind.
Kudos to him for breaking barriers.
True to himself.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of somebody.
You have to do. Exactly. That's why I say we do what we want over here at Delisa Rose.
What we want right now is a podcast.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Delisa Rose, your luxury lingerie destination, featuring in-house signature collections and other beautiful designs from around the world. Lingerie for every woman, many made to order with a nod to her engineering background. All shapes, all sizes. More at DelisaRoseLuxuryLingerie.com.
Who are some of the acting mentors or some of the people that you looked up to when you go to a film and you say, that's who I would like to be, or that's what I'd like to be in?
I mean, obviously, I like Meryl Streep. I think she's phenomenal. I like Angela Bassett.
You're aiming high.
Yeah.
You're going.
Good
for you.
That's how I started. I'm a '90s girl, so I watched all of the What's Love Got to Do with? I grew up in that, right? But I was, and honestly, today I can't even tell you. I'm not following it as far as how I was growing up. But today, I like the old Hollywood movies. I'm really a big fan of the 50s and 40s, so I'm even 30s.
Noir.
Joan. Yeah, and we talked about Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
I love her. You see? So it's
we got to get you a sitcom. And man, this is a sitcom begging to be written.
It is.
She's an oil and gas engineer by day, runs a lingerie company by night, travels the world for both of those jobs.
I do.
And is just trying to get HBO to buy that as a series.
Please, HBO, Lion Gates, someone.
You do light up a room, so a stage would be an easy act to follow that with. And I think that goes back to what you've talked about throughout this whole process, which is the importance of having a vision and wanting to do it and seeing it. And but I will tell you, show business is the most heartbreaking of all the things you've done. I don't know that much about the oil and gas business, but I'm guessing it's a little easier. This is a different pipeline, and it's hard to break in, as you learned for a scant 2 years in Hollywood. But you're a different person now.
I am.
And you know about how to go after what you want.
But you know, Bill, I'm okay. I'm okay with me. If it don't, it don't. Now, my 22, 18-year-old self, you couldn't tell me that. I would have chewed me up and spit me out. I'm really glad God made me wait 20 years almost to do what I want to do. I know who I am now. I'm not, someone that's coming into this business naive, right? It's business. Business is business in any business. I do know there's no business like show business. That's what they say. However, oil and gas is a tough industry. And if you can make it in oil and gas, I don't know how many Hollywooders are in oil and gas or have ever been in oil and gas. You can make it in show business.
I'm guessing that
sure.
the people in the oil and gas business who know that you also have a lingerie company.
They don't. They know now.
Nobody. This podcast is sort of your coming out party.
It is. Oops. But I'm in the renewables business now. So I left oil and gas last year. Now strictly into renewable energy. Same thing. One wants to do oil, one wants to drive out the pollution, one wants to do clean air, one wants to put in the, same, industries as far as the process is
Are we all
concerned.
going to be driving electric cars in 20 years?
Oh, and flying electric, I think, I better not say that.
I don't know if I'd get
know.
on an electric plane.
I've read somewhere where they might roll it out in a couple of years or something.
You have confidence in that future, in that
I do
we
have
are going
confidence.
to be able to get
We're making history.
carbon footprints
Absolutely.
down.
I do.
And you're part of that too.
I am.
I just got
a write up. I was in a Heroes magazine last year as a hero. I sent you the write up on that. So
when the people who listen to this podcast that work with you in oil and gas and anyone who's worked with you over the years, will they be not at all surprised to learn that you'd like to be an actress also?
No. Now that is what my family do know. The lingerie, they didn't know that this was in me. But the acting, I've always been vocal about that. So here are the titles. Engineer turned lingerie designer, lingerie designer turns actress.
That's a lot for a marquee. We got to get that down. How about just Quee?
And there's more, Bill. I do have a medical product that I invented.
Really?
Yes.
Now, we haven't discussed this before
we did not.
at all.
We're pivoting. So when mommy was sick, I created a medical product and it's patent. And they didn't have it on the market, so I designed it and created it. And I have my first appointment with the doctor's office coming up.
What is it? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, it's patent.
No NDA, or everyone listening can't go out and steal this idea?
We probably can't.
What is it? What does it do?
So I would say this. It's wound care, okay? It's not nothing you ingest. It's basically, it's something that deals with venous heart failure, venous disease, even renal failure. It's some symptoms or I would say the way the body responds to these illness that my mom was going through, okay? Not speaking on Pacific and other people's situations, my mother, from what I saw, because I was her caregiver, and I had to change her wounds a lot. And mommy was diabetic and had some other issues and things like that. And so as her body was going through the process of deteriorating, right? For years she had to deal with these symptoms. And as they got into their final stages of her life, they got worse, like any other patient that going through things as you are dealing with an illness, it can get worse or better. right? So I just got frustrated, but I tell you, I love being a wound care person now. Like I love dressing her wounds. So I started to do all of her caring for her legs and her arms is where her conditions were. And in the hospitals, they would send a nurse to change her dressing. She would say, no, let my daughter do it. I'm like, Mom, they're specialists. These people get
She's
paid.
an engineer.
No, I said, you do. But I developed a product because they didn't have a specific need that I wanted.
Like a gauze?
No, well, it's tied to it, but it's not. Gauze is gauze. Like I would say I developed a technology, a functionality / technology.
So what was wrong with the way they've been doing it, and what does your new product do differently?
Well, I went through various of different stages. I had to do a case study. I had to reenact my mother to develop the engineering requirements.
Uh-huh.
That was this was all while creating Delisa Rose. This was just last year.
Wow.
So I had to go through the process.
She's probably designed 3 other things while she's sitting here.
I do. That's the way my mind works. Well, Mommy passed in 2020, but in 2020, I came up with the concept. But in 2021 and 2, I was going through the process of just trying to figure out how it will function. So you have to go through the case study, do the testing. So I had to do a various of different testings, and things like that, and like kind of a mock-up, and create the technology from it. And then hire, the appropriate people to get it patented and go through the proper process.
So it's patented.
It is.
And it has a name?
It does. It's patented. And this has a name.
Is it the right stuff?
No.
WRIGHT?
No.
Okay, well.
So we'll keep it under wraps because we're still now in the phase of
appropriately under wraps.
Yeah, appropriately.
That's
Respectfully.
what it does. Yeah. Wow. There is no end to the talent of the woman I'm sitting across from. That's why I enjoy making this podcast, and we hope you enjoy listening to it. In the weeks to come, we're going to learn more about what you can do to start your own business, how adversity can be a good thing and not a bad, and what the future looks like for the woman who has told us now in several episodes that she is an engineer, designs and cuts some of her own lingerie, travels the world in both those capacities, and has designed something that may dress your wound someday. Oh, and by the way, she'd also like to have a sitcom. I'm Bill McCuddy. I mostly just sit in awe. And this is Intimate Nights with Delisa Rose.